Hey everybody, welcome to BrickVault. Today is another LEGO Top 10 Mocks of the Week episode where I show you guys the coolest custom creations I happen to see people building in LEGO throughout this last week. As always, there are way more than 10. Check out the description below if you want to learn more about the builders that I'm showing you this week. And like always, the top link is to our web store, www.brickvault.toys. The most recent design to go up in the web store comes from my brother Charlie. It is Link from The Wind Waker, mostly a display piece, a little bit of posability, and generally a pretty fun little build. I don't present any of these models in order from best to worst, just 10 of my favorite, and let's start off with the first one here. From Patrick Biggs, this is Tau Uniter. There is and always has been something very striking when it comes to the prime colors, yellow, red, blue, and every aspect of this model pops. We have a combination of fire and ice swords, fire and icy wings, and just wonderful, ornate, colorful details everywhere you look. The pose is amazing, and the bright colors pop even better with that sort of flat, relatively mute gray background. Now let's jump onto the next model that pops for a completely different reason. Gray background once again, but it is a 100% monochrome white dragon. The official title is Ultra Mecha Dragon, and the designer is Christian Lintan. What's fun about this model is that it doesn't look particularly complex when you look up close at the build design. The connections on a grand scale actually don't look particularly complex, but because the whole thing is just so massively huge, you get these amazing shapes when you pull back and you look at the whole thing from far away. For someone who has been in a LEGO design studio for like 5 years almost and surrounded by awesome, amazing creations, I can tell you right now that if this was next to a bunch of our larger Star Wars ships, I have a feeling it would just draw the eye in a much more alluring way. The slithering, sloping, snake-like body looks incredibly smooth, and the shape for the dragon head and body, arms, claws, everything just pops wonderfully. In terms of all the different creations that I've seen this week, this is actually the one that I think would be the most fun and relaxing to put together. We're jumping on now to another brick-built figure. This is from JFA, and it is simply titled Cyberpunk. This can be established with the punk hairstyle. I really like that pink mohawk, and the cyber comes from the rest of the body looking pretty robotic. Definitely the arms, it looks like his head is metal and he's just probably wearing clothes around the rest of his Terminator-like metallic body. The short jacket definitely gives you that sort of punk flair. I like that the body is mostly made of black and flat silver. That makes the colors in the jacket and the hair pop even more. And the inclusion of the brick-built stand is great because it allows your figure to lean back in a way that I think you probably couldn't do if he was just standing there on his own. It adds to the atmosphere and allows for just a little bit more attitude coming from the punk. Now we're moving on to Thomas Jenkins Samurai. This is great because we have a wonderfully expressive face from a brick-built fig. Not an easy thing to accomplish, but also the use of different kinds of strange creative pieces is always fun to take a closer look at. Look at the mouth. Those are two different stud guns that are facing each other, missing the triggers. The nose is made from a royal guard, and you can see a combination of different minifigure legs and arms used for different parts of the face and body. Because the rest of the build is somewhat dark and muted, the face pops especially well, and it is a particularly fun brick-built fig. Let's move on to a Star Wars design. Rob Van Leeuwen has designed the AT-AT from Star Wars Rebels. I can't tell if this is minifig scale or maybe 1.5 minifig scale. He's already started to build the head, and there is just something actually kind of fun from this alternate, somewhat earlier version of the AT-ST. I believe that's how it's supposed to be interpreted in universe. The shape of the head is a little bit more dynamic. There's a lot more variable shapes when it comes to the outline of the legs, and the turret mounted in the back makes a lot more logistical sense. I'm surprised that they didn't have that in the other version of the AT-AT or the later version. I've heard a lot of negative things generally when it comes to the animated series changing the shapes of traditional vehicles, but I have to say, the Rebels AT-AT looks pretty darn good. This is certainly something that I would love to see physically built, and I have a feeling it is coming along the way at some point. And now we are moving on to the latest custom creation from Norton 74. This is called General Store, and if you haven't seen any of his builds before, he has captured the classic Americana look better than anyone else, I think, in LEGO bricks. He's got an incredible eye for detail, and on top of that, just a lot of fun, creative ideas for using the bricks. Mushrooms are made from beanies in the front, wheel pieces make up a barrel in the corner, a simple yet effective design for a gas tank with the little shell logo there. The hockey stick is what's pulling out the light along the yellow wall. I believe using all of those 1x1 modified clips for the American flag kind of make it look like an older flag, like it's a bit more tattered. I do not envy him when it comes to the creation of the stand for the water tank. That definitely does look a little bit delicate and also finicky to connect, but when you zoom out, this whole thing just has so much attitude and flair. When it comes to creating a spatial diorama like this, there are few builders that can really come close when it comes to capturing an atmosphere. Now for this next build coming from the designer Blue Builder, this is Expedition Cure. This is the kind of designing that I feel like is really fun to do because my guess is that this designer comes up with a fun concept and then just plays with a giant, endless, color-coded combination of pieces and slowly but surely just starts putting together just fun, visually interesting, and frankly quite complex patterns and designs. The whole thing here feels very organic. I believe they are exploring an alien planet right now, and it's hard to begin with what I think we're looking at or the combinations of pieces that I think are really fun. But as you slowly pan across the blues and purples and make yourself into the lighter greens, there are just so many weird pieces used in weird ways. I'm seeing wrenches, cleaner brushes, the weird splatter guy from that one Toy Story set, all kinds of teeth, wings, legs, phones, hair pieces, plants, cherries, swords, syringes. I don't know, there's just so much. There is so much in such a tightly packed space. It really does feel alien. It feels like a fantasy land, and I have no way of knowing this, but if I had to guess, Blue Builder probably organizes their bricks by color. Here's another slice of life, another bit of Americana older culture. Route 66 is one of those famous desert highways, and this diorama captures, I think, probably its heyday. A lot of these trucks look like they're from the 50s. We even have a great looking fire paint job for a hot rod, or something that looks close to that. The build here was a two-person collaboration. I'm looking at the photos from Dornby, but this was also in collaboration from Bricking Robo. And number one, the diorama's great. The little fill station looks pretty darn accurate, but we also have some awesome designs for cars. The details here are a little bit larger, a little bit more obtuse, but also much easier to see from afar. I feel like this is definitely a model that is much more impressive in person. I really do get that feeling. The cars in particular are a lot of fun. They might be my favorite aspect of this build. And anyways, we are moving on to a completely different theme of design. From Fabs, this is Ghost Beluga. What an interesting name for a ship, and what an interesting design for a ship. I sort of see where Beluga's coming from a little bit. It is very large, it feels kind of fat, and we can also see a few curves slipped in here and there. I think maybe where a lot of your eyes went immediately were to all of those long tooth/tail pieces in the front. Really interesting design choice, kind of gives me the impression that those are heat dispersion fins, and then that is an excellent and very profound way to make engines in the back. The gaps in those balloon pieces make up some tightly packed wheels. You see a variety of different sized cylinders in there. It's a very high-tech and kind of fun look, and stylistically I also feel like those gaps kind of mirror or match up with those gaps in the front that make up that nice curve. There's a sort of symmetry of approach for both the front and back, but in different ways, and it's just a spaceship I haven't seen quite the looks of before. Now we're moving on to the final build of the week from Timothy Kachev. This is titled Why So Serious? And I think a lot of you guys would be able to guess immediately. We are looking at the Heath Ledger Joker bust, and the expressions and shapes are just so interesting. I like that the purple suit has been made with mostly studs on the outside, and that stylistically the face is incredibly smooth, and then you have these plant leaf-like pieces that are exclusively used for the hair. From afar, these textures really give you a lot of feedback visually. The flesh feels a little bit more flesh-like, the suit feels a little bit more like fabric, and the hair feels very dirty and messy. I like that he integrated a little bit of tan with the white to show that the makeup is a bit messy. There's some creative uses of pieces for the mouth, and the eyes being incredibly dark and sunken in are just a bit more sad and disturbing. This is not the first high-quality Joker bust I have seen, but it is the first one for Heath Ledger, and Timothy is no builder to mess with. He's got all kinds of interesting, large-scale, incredibly creative designs. And with that is all of the top 10 MOCs I am showing you guys. Of course, there's tons of extras, all the pictures you see flashing by the screen. Those are all linked in the description below along with the top 10. Remember to check out our web store if you haven't already. It's always a great way to help support what we do here at the channel. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Hope you have a great Monday, and we'll see you next time at BrickVault.